What is up, everybody? How's it going? Austin Prechtelevate Performance, coming at you live. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope you're having a good day so far. Hope you're having a good day so far. We're going to kick things off in here just a second. As you were tuning in, let me know how your day is going. Today, we're going to be talking about something that the majority of people really love, and that is carbs. We're going to be talking about carbs. So, as you were tuning in, either let me know how your day is going, or drop your favorite carb emoji in the chat, so that way I know that you're here and that you're tuning in. And if you're watching this at a later time, hashtag replay, so that way I know that you saw it. I think my camera's a little blurry here on Facebook. Let's see if we can dial that in. There we go. Cool. So yeah, we're gonna be jumping into this. This is gonna be a brief one. Gonna be a quick little live. I'm just gonna give you guys three great reasons why carbs are great, and why carbs should be a part of your diet for the most part. Whenever it comes to your weight loss journey, whether it comes to you're trying to build muscle or be a fitter, healthier version of yourself, that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Because a lot of times, people, whenever they come into a journey, they start learning about losing weight and things like that. People are like, you need to cut your carbs. You need to, do this. You shouldn't have carbs. They're bad for you. If you're doing keto or carnivore and things like that, they, oftentimes not everybody's like this in those camps, but sometimes, they'll almost like scoff at you if you're eating carbs. And there's almost like this elitism or like superiority kind of complex thing. And I think everybody should be able to. Everybody should do what they want to do, right? And if it works for you, good. But if it's only working for you temporarily or unsustainably, and you're gaining weight or you're losing weight and then you're gaining it all back, because it's like not sustainable for you, like it isn't for the other 99% of people out there who try it. Don't feel bad about not. Don't feel like you have to keep doing it, right? At the end of the day, if it is working for you, though, yeah, that's great. I'm happy for you. You are like a minority in this space, and so if it works for you, that's great. But I think everybody should try to be respectful of each other and your choices and things like that. But don't force or think less of somebody because they eat carbs, right? So because carbs are important, and we should not be demonizing food groups, because carbs, fats, and protein all have a place in our bodies. Like they're important. There's a reason why, and I'm going to talk about this here in just a second. Why it's our primary fuel source for our bodies. So, but let's go ahead and jump into this. So these are three reasons why carbs are great for your weight loss journey, for if you're trying to get stronger, for performance and things like that. So the first reason that I'm going to list off here is fiber. Is a big part of a lot of carb sources, right? Fiber is important. It's super important. I think I've done a post on this in the past. Feel free to search on my social media for the word fiber if you want, but that goes into more detail. But fiber promotes like a healthy gut microbiome, right? It helps promote healthy digestion. It helps promote like adequate, like good nutrient absorption for your body. And for a lot of people, a lot of these high fiber foods are good for regulating blood sugar, things like that. And so fiber is an important like source that comes from carbs. And so if you're not ever consuming carbs, this is one of the things that a lot of people struggle with whenever they do keto or they do carnivore diet is they end up, well, just to put it bluntly, a lot of people that do carnivore and keto, and if they're not supplementing with fiber, end up getting like hemorrhoids really bad or have really kind of like weird messed up digestion. So it's just one of those things just to be careful with, right? Like if you're gonna try anything, just know what you're getting into. Because I've had people ask me in the past, like, would you recommend doing this, or would you suggest if I do this, what do I need to know about it? It's like, well, I'm not an expert in those specific diets, but I do know that these things can happen and that you should be aware of them. Like, if you're going to do keto or carnivore, you might get hemorrhoids. So be careful. Make sure you're getting adequate fiber from supplementation if need be. So, those are just things to take into consideration. And I also want to preface too, right? I had somebody message me the other day who I was talking to about their journey. And they came whenever they messaged me, because I was asking them what they've tried in the past for their own journey to see if they could lose weight or in their own journey. And they told me, they're like, I don't want you to think I'm silly or I'm dumb or think less of me, but I've tried keto in the past and it didn't work for me. And like, I gained or I lost some weight, but I gained a lot of it back. I don't want you to think anything less of me. I was like, what do you mean? Like, we're all, and I want everybody to know, like, if you're watching this live right now, like, we are all students in this, right? Like, I am not like better or anything like that than anybody else. Like, just because I know more about certain things doesn't mean I'm better than you. Like, I didn't know like 90% of the shit that I know right now 10 years ago, right? Like everybody's different at their own journey, and I'm not going to like make somebody feel bad or feel stupid or whatever it may be because you tried something that you did that didn't end up working, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like I didn't know. I love learning from. Hey, I appreciate you, Aaron. And so it's just one of those things, guys. Like we are all students, right? Like we are colleagues. Like I'm not above anybody, and nobody's above me. Like we're all on equal playing fields. We're all just trying to learn and get better, and figure out, our bodies and our journeys, and trying to figure out what works for us, right? Very few people that might be keto or carnivore, and that's great. I'm happy for them. Most people it's not, and so what we try to focus on here is sustainability at the end of the day. And don't ever feel like I don't want to work with you or don't like or think less of you because you tried keto in the past or tried carnivore in the past and it didn't work out. Like that was a stepping stone in your journey. And now that you've learned that it either worked or didn't work for you long term and sustainably, that's great. Like you've figured that out, and now you can move on to the next step to figure out what's actually sustainable for you long term. And part of that is probably carbs and consuming carbs, and that's okay. So we just talked about fiber. To go off on that little tangent, I just want to talk about that just because that's not the first time people have messaged me and said like, like I don't want you to think I'm dumb, or like I don't want you to like make fun of me, but I've tried keto in the past. It's like that's fine. Like there's that's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. So number two though, so second reason why carbs are great is it's our body's preferred energy source for functioning and performance, especially for workouts. A lot of people, if they ever actually reach like true ketogenesis and reach true like keto, right? Keto state, like that's not your body's preferred like pathway for energy. Like it's not. And just to kind of, I don't want to like fudge the numbers or anything like that, but I think if I'm remembering right, like people like because sometimes they'll recommend like if they've done studies on like people who have Alzheimer's, like if you switch to a keto diet, like it can help because your brain is just going off of like ketones and things like that, and it's only functioning at like whatever like let's just say 30 to 60%, right? And I can't remember if these numbers are specifically accurate, but like your body is only functioning at a certain like level whenever you're on when you're on keto. Like it's fine and your body's going to function okay, like you're going to be fine, but is it optimal, right? Is it optimal? Probably not. Probably not for most people because our bodies are wired to utilize carbohydrates and glucose as our primary energy source. And so, if you're doing keto right now, or if you've done it in the past, or you are doing it right now, and you're like man, like I feel like crap for my workouts. And everybody's different, right? Some people, again, a rare minority of people may feel better on keto. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying like if you don't feel good or if it's not sustainable, do something else. But for keto and for for performance for most people, you're not going to be at your best whenever it comes to working out, whenever it comes to like like doing like daily functions and things like that. Like most people probably are going to feel worse on keto, and if you're having like an off day and you're doing your workouts and things like that, and you're just like, man, I just don't feel very strong, or I feel kind of like weaker than normal, or my lifts and my performance isn't that great, you know take a look and see how many carbs you had that day or the day before, and just see, that could probably be the reason why you're not feeling your best. Everybody has off days too, though. Like at the end, everybody has off days, but getting an adequate amount of carbohydrates is going to be optimal for your performance in the gym. And if you have better workouts and more optimal workouts, you're going to see better progress in the long term. So that's the second reason why carbs are pretty damn great. This third reason, though, is probably one of my this is my favorite reason why I think carbs are great. And it's that, and this is compared to fat, right? And this is compared to fat, especially. But anti-catabolism effects, right? So catabolism is essentially just like when your body like breaks down muscle. It's like it's when catabolism is essentially it doesn't apply specifically to muscle, but like it's when your tissue breaks down, right? It's when your tissue breaks down, and so like muscle tissue over time, like if it's not given, if you're not intaking adequate amounts of protein, will catabolize, and that can happen no matter what to some effect when you are in a weight loss phase, right? I talk about it before, like whenever you're losing weight, you're going to lose fat, but you're also going to lose some muscle along the way. And part of the goal whenever you're in a weight loss phase, right, is to lose as much fat as possible and maintain as much muscle as possible while you're doing it. Because if you just go willy-nilly into it and you don't eat the right amounts of certain macros, you're going to lose more muscle than you want to. And so carbs are an important part of having an anti-catabolism effect. So eating carbs and consuming carbs helps prevent muscle loss, especially when in comparison to fat. Dietary fat and fat just doesn't have that same impact on like anti-catabolism effects as carbs do. So, basically, if you aren't eating carbs, you're going to be more prone to this catabolism effect, basically. So muscle atrophy. So you're going to lose more muscle than you otherwise would have had you consumed carbohydrates on the regular. So just keep that in mind, guys. So, and this is especially applies, like I said, when you're in a caloric deficit. Making sure that you get adequate amounts of carbs, especially if you're in a weight loss phase, like is important. Don't, because at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, like you can essentially to some extent, reduce carbs or reduce fats, right? Whenever you're trying to lose weight, it's not going to make a huge difference in regards to body composition at the end of the day for the most part. As long as you're getting kind of like those minimum requirements of each, you can kind of have either or at whatever amounts that you kind of like as long as you're hitting those minimum amounts to maintain healthy hormone function, and to where you're also not feeling like trash when you're in the gym, and if it kind of is more in alignment with your own personal like food choices, like if you're somebody that just really likes cheese, right? Your fats are probably going to be higher, and you don't really care that much about bread. Okay, that's fine. Your fats are probably going to be a little bit higher, and it's okay if your carbs and fats are a little bit flipped to an extent. But you want to make sure that you're getting the right amounts of each of these, and your body just might not be functioning as well as it would if it was the other way around. So these are just things to keep in mind. This is why carbs are great. Like this is why I enjoy carbs. That's why I'm never gonna not eat carbs. That's why it's just not sustainable for me personally, right? And a lot of other people out there, whenever they do keto, the reason why I say don't do it is because if you can't see yourself doing that for the rest of your life, or you can't see yourself doing that and maintaining the progress that you see, well, guess what's going to happen whenever you stop doing it because you want to enjoy some of the more fun food with your friends or family? Well, you're not going to be on keto anymore technically, and all these purported benefits of it aren't going to be applying to you necessarily, and you're probably going to not be able to maintain it long term, and you're going to gain your weight back. And so at the end of the day, like what's the point in doing it if you don't get to keep the results, right? So making sure that you have something that's sustainable for you long term is key. So that's all I got for you guys today. Don't demonize food groups. Carbs are not bad. Carbs are not bad. They are actually really, really good for you. And at the end of the day, in my opinion, like if you're gonna cut calories, I would much rather cut them from my fats than I would my carbs, because you can free up a shit ton of calories, right? You can free up a shit ton of calories or create a caloric deficit quite a bit easier, cutting your fats than you would otherwise, in terms of cutting your carbs. And there's a lot of carbs out there that are really high satiety or satiety, like in terms of like making you feel full, right? Especially, your fruits and your vegetables, your cruciferous vegetables that are super filling. I'm pretty sure, and yeah, I'm almost 100% sure about this, is, even in comparison to protein, right? Cruciferous vegetables and leafy green vegetables have a higher satiety. Like they make you feel full for longer. And they're way more low calorie at the end of the day too. And so you can consume a lot of these. They have a lot of micronutrients. Like, at the end of the day, like, carbs are pretty damn great. And things like potatoes have super high satiety. Like bananas, like, oatmeal, like, things like that. Like don't cut them just because some guru says that they're bad or that they're preventing you from losing weight. Because carbs aren't, at the end of the day. It's the overconsumption of calories. At the end of the day, it comes down to calories in, calories out. You could lose weight eating only protein every day and not having any carbs or fat. You could lose weight only eating carbs every day and not having any protein or fat. You could lose weight eating fat every day only and not having any protein or carbs. It does not matter as long as you're in a caloric deficit. What does matter is how you're going to look and how you're going to feel when it comes to that ratio and that balance of your macronutrients at the end of the day. So just be smart about it, right? Just be smart about it. At the end of the day, do what's best for you. Do what's sustainable for you. I can't speak on what that is at the end of the day, unless we're working together right now. But other than that, that's all I really got for you guys today. So that's why I like carbs. I hope that you like carbs too. If not, you're still welcome here, and that's okay. So other than that, though, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Have a good rest of your day. I'm going to get after it. Feel free to give this video a like. Feel free to share it with others who may have questions about this stuff, who may not know that much about carbs, or who you've been talking about like how they think carbs are bad and things like that. And you can just show them this video and be like, this is why they're not that bad. They're actually really good. So yeah, other than that, let me know your number one takeaway in the comments down below. #replay if you're watching this at a later time. And I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow. See you guys.